Okay, welcome everybody to the February 12th regular city council meeting. Call it to order with a roll call.
Mayor Nielsen,
I'm here.
Councilmember Machesik,
Here.
Councilmember Nelson,
Here.
Councilmember Thrower.
Here.
Let the record show that Councilmember Giles is absent.
Okay, let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda if it looks okay to everyone?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Any discussion or want to pull anything off the consent agenda?
Not for me.
No. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Can you get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Machesik.
Yes.
Councilmember Thrower.
Yes.
Mayor Nielsen.
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson.
Yes.
Okay, on to the general public comment. We did receive 2 public comments that we received in our emails earlier. You guys got those. No one signed up for public comment tonight. Anyone online?
Nobody online.
Anybody else in the audience would like to make just a general public comment? Okay. Well, we'll move right along into our presentations. First up, we have Rick Faraday and Tuck Miller.
Thanks, Mayor Nielsen. So, I wasn't going to say anything about politics tonight, but I just saw the news tonight that
Can you say your name?
Rick Faraday, 315 Burns, that our administration is going harder for coal and against the EPA and against global climate change. So that's the extent of that, and that's why we're here. We're proposing that the city of McCall look into the possibility of starting its own public municipality power grid. And there are 23 cities in Idaho that are doing this now, and it's totally doable. It just may be a bit of a struggle. So, but it's definitely doable. We've sent you some information. I hope you all got that in your packets. One of the websites that's in there is publicpower.org, and I hope you all get a chance to read that, because that it gives you a lot of information about how to form a public utility, all the way from picking leaders, doing feasibility studies, legal analysis, getting evaluation on what you will be purchasing, community education, and then how to go about referendums and such. So hopefully you'll go through that. It won't be something that's going to happen tomorrow, and you'll need to think about how you want to, if you want to do this, how you want to go about it. But it's a very valuable thing for the residents here. It keeps us resilient, and it lowers the cost for the residents. And with the current world situation, I think it's a wise move. So I'll let Tuck take it from here, and we'll go from that.
My name's Tuck Miller. I live at 437 Wilhelm Creek Court, McCall, Idaho. And for the record, Rick made me do this. He put me up to this. Like Rick mentioned, there's 23 municipal and consumer-owned power co-ops in the state of Idaho. And without exception, every one of them delivers electricity to their residents cheaper than the three major investor-owned utilities in the state of Idaho. The closest example to us, and we put this in your packet, is the city of Weiser, which delivers electricity at 60% of the cost that we pay here in McCall. The most notable one is probably Idaho Falls. That's the largest municipal utility in the state of Idaho, and they're less than half of what we pay for electricity. And so the cost to the residents is dramatically less. The cost to the businesses is dramatically less. And it's not just in Idaho that you see this scenario, but across the United States. Investor-owned utilities, as you know, are designed to do one thing: send money to Wall Street. And I kind of always start this conversation with people. I say, how much do you pay for electricity at your house? And I'm just kind of asking, I'm going to throw a number out in the wintertime. If you heat your house with electricity in McCall, it's probably $400 or $500, averages a couple $100 a month. Then I ask the question always of who pays for the electricity for the city hall? Who pays for electricity for St. Luke's Hospital? Who pays for electricity for the McCall-Donnelly School District? Who pays for electricity for the Forest Service buildings? Who pays for electricity for the pint of ice cream at Albertsons, the cost of which is 80% energy? And the answer, as you know, is us. And so we want to look at a scenario where we lower the cost of electricity for the residents of this town because, as you know, the cost of living is a major issue, particularly for the younger people in this community. And we will spend our lives as Americans paying 25 to 30% of our entire lifetime's earnings for energy. And you can go to IEA.gov, there's a website, and it lays this out, and it shows how much every one of us pays for energy in every state across the United States. And we want to entertain this discussion of McCall becoming a utility, just like Weiser, Burley, Rupert, Post Falls, Idaho Falls, Idaho County Power and Light up by Grangeville. There's a mechanism to make that happen. And I know this probably opens up a lot more questions than answers. And so I guess what we'd like to know is what, if you've had a chance to look at the information that we presented to you, and if you've had a chance, have you had a chance to go to any of the websites and look at any of the videos that we sent? I mean, I think the first thing that's very clear when you look at that is how much individuals and corporations are willing to commit. I mean, I look at something like May Hardware and Rick Faraday. You know, they put hundreds of thousands of dollars of their money into something like this. And so have hundreds of other citizens in this valley. And I live in a, I don't know, call it whatever you want, but I live in Jug Mountain Ranch. And I live there for a reason, because I live in a net zero energy house where I don't pay a power bill. And people think, you know, it's something that's not doable here. But imagine if we're a community connected by hundreds of homes that makes more electricity than you use. I'm just looking this up really quick. At my house in 2025, I generated 15.6 megawatts of electricity. And I used 13.1. And I have a car that runs off electricity that I never pay a cent for gas for it. So who this makes really happy is my wife, who pays the bills. And every month when we don't pay a power bill and you don't pay a gas bill, and I'm completely resilient. I don't care if the grid goes out. I just don't care, because my house keeps chugging along no matter what. And I know all of you probably went through an issue over the last couple of months with the electricity going out. Doesn't matter to me. So anyway, we came here to answer questions and to pursue this opportunity. And we would like to get a buy-in from the city council. And Rick was supposed to do this, but of course he didn't. Leaves it to me. Thanks, Rick. We would like to get a city staff member to engage with this committee a couple hours a week, maybe at the most. Maybe it's more like a couple hours a month right now, and come back to you with a game plan. We've identified somebody. Do we want to say who it is?
I think we should, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Rick recommended that we make Meredith that person as a city planner. And so I guess that's our ask. That's what we're asking. A lot of questions.
You ready for the questions?
I'm ready.
All right, we have questions.
Maybe I'd start off with net people employed in McCall. Say if we were to transfer from Idaho Power over to some municipality, what's the impact on people who work in energy production on either way? Is there a net gain, net loss? Or
We think the best way to look at that is to go to Weiser. It's a town very similar to us. And we look at how many linemen they take, how many trucks does it take to do it. We think that's a solid local example of what it takes to do it. So to answer your question, I think we need to investigate it, and we need to go to the most local, most appropriate example and see how they do it.
Yeah, thanks. I think that's a really good answer, and that would be what I would suspect. The model's out there.
Yeah.
We need to inquire how it's working for other similar sites. Thanks.
From what we've researched, there's probably somewhere around a dozen employees, and plus or minus in the city of Weiser, but we'd really like to go see the details. I have a feel for what goes on up in Lapwai because I worked up there for 4 years, 5 years. I think that's a little different model. And I think something, and you may have seen this in the video, but I think something that's really key here is kind of the closed loop of a system like this. You know, Rick has a charging station, the equivalent of what you put in here at the Tesla charging station. He's got a whole rooftop of solar that runs his business, designed by an engineer who went to McCall Donnelly High School. Panels installed and work done, in some cases, by local kids. And I think that the opportunity to be involved in really 21st century technology is just so key for our community. As you know, many places in Idaho are not going to follow this lead. So I think it provides an opportunity in employment for kids from high school through college, through trade school. You know, you're talking electricians, linemen, that type of thing. So, but numbers, I think we're talking plus or minus a dozen employees.
And that includes installation, I mean, primarily of those 12. It isn't really just telephone poles and lines and underground systems. It's the whole comprehensive aspect of providing that kind of service.
Well, there isn't an installation at that end. What would happen if you became a McCall utility is there is an arbitration process within the Public Utility Code in the state of Idaho where the current investor-owned utility is required to negotiate with the municipality, and you take over that equipment. And you would own it from point A to point B. And there's a process that you go through in arbitration. And that packet that Rick was discussing with Public Power kind of goes through what other communities have gone through and what it takes to do that. But it's not like you go and restring the whole town. That doesn't happen. And the biggest opportunity, I think, here is to do something like Lapwai. I don't know if you've ever driven by the airport and looked at all the south-facing rooftops. But every one of them looks just like Rick's warehouse rooftop behind his building. I mean, there's plus or minus 5 megawatts of solar sitting on those rooftops. And there is no way to generate cheaper electricity in the United States right now than rooftop solar. And all you got to do is go research that. So, you know, there's a huge opportunity for the city to get involved on a very large scale and actually make electricity as opposed to a town like Weiser, which only buys electricity. The Bonneville Power Administration was established for public power, not for investor-owned utilities. And it has become a backup for investor-owned utilities. The city of Weiser buys electricity cheaper than an investor-owned electric utility can buy it because you are a preferred customer. You are who Bonneville Power Administration was built for. So that's going to be your initial provider. And then whatever you make in addition to that, like Idaho Falls has its own hydro and has some wind, those types of things. So you can add to it however you'd like. But you automatically buy at a preferred rate from Bonneville Power Administration as a registered incorporated town.
Okay, you just answered a lot of my questions in your last statement there. I was just wondering, where the power comes from in terms of how can you ensure that you're meeting all the residents' power needs, especially as you grow, but there's that entity you can buy power from, and then you buy less as you put in more solar or whatever. So are there, you mentioned Weezer does that. I think the Nez Perce tribe, I don't know, are they providing their power all through solar for their whole community, or is
Say again, please?
the Nez Perce tribe, are they doing their whole community through solar panels?
Yes, and I don't know that that's a great example necessarily for us, because they have tribal sovereignty and they have land ownership and they have some opportunities to do things without the PUC and without other government interference. And without really, the utilities can't tell them what to do to the extent they can a town like ours. They're a great example for what can be done, but their paradigm is slightly different than ours. And that's why I think it's important to look at these towns that are currently doing this, that are close to us. But yeah, it's a great example of how do you go in and take your biggest energy users and take that off, essentially off grid, if you will, even though it's still grid attached. Their emphasis is saving salmon. We have a little different emphasis. And so, ours is saving money, and if you're not concerned about global climate change, you haven't walked outside in February in McCall, Idaho. So, I think that would be the driving factor here, and I think cost is number one. If it doesn't make financial sense, it will not make sense, period. So, what they're doing is a whole different scale in terms of production than I would ever see the city of McCall doing. But I think there's this opportunity to create, and I think you saw this in one of the videos, this virtual power plant, where you connect hundreds of homes and hundreds of businesses that have this resource into a distributed power source in your community. And that's kind of the leading edge model right now in resiliency and pooling distributed energy into the grid. But to answer your question on power sources, most people don't recognize how much, somebody brought up coal. I think, was it you, Rick? Shame on you. Right now we think in Idaho Power that all your energy comes from hydro dams. Big surprise. Right now you're probably burning more coal than anything else right here in McCall, Idaho. Thousands of tons of coal are going down every hour to provide electricity to the state of Idaho. We can keep living in 1950 if you want, but it is 2026. So.
Mike, do you have any questions?
No, the only one is, but I think I understand, is that you're buying it from, so Idaho Power buys from BPA. We would buy from BPA, is that what I'm hearing? Like how complex of a deal is this?
So I don't know how much you know about electricity, but here we have a thing called the Mid-Columbia Hub.
Okay.
And there's actually a trading desk, just like you would trade stocks, that trades electricity. And it's literally traded by the second, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And there are hundreds of power sources. It might be a coal-fired plant, it might be a gas-fired plant, it might be hydropower, it might be a solar farm, it might be a wind farm. And there's this huge pool. And the Western grid, which goes from southern Alberta all the way down to Mexico, electricity is traded within that grid. That grid is connected from northern or southern Alberta all the way to northern Mexico. And electrons can travel in that grid. We have 6 of these in the United States. And it's traded by the hour. And there are multiple sources, and you can buy on the hub forms of electricity. And
And sell.
Yeah, buy and sell. That's a really important point. Because electricity on May 20th, for example, actually has a negative value on the Mid-Columbia hub because there's a glut of it. Hydro dams are cranking, solar power's going, wind turbines are going, and there's a very low electrical need because no air conditioning, irrigation hasn't started up. 2 months later, on the 20th of July, that megawatt hour of electricity, which might be at minus $5 in May, meaning you got to pay to dump it into the grid, is worth $500 or $1,000 a megawatt hour. At 5 p.m. on July 20th, when it's 105 degrees and the Western grid is browning out. And it even goes much higher than that. And so the money is made at these opportune times, and it's traded just like any other commodity. This is the largest commodity in the world. People don't understand that. There's a reason that Berkshire Hathaway Energy is the largest owner of utilities in the United States. Berkshire Hathaway is Warren Buffett. I mean, he's not going to do something out of mild boredom. And there's a reason that the largest investment funds in the United States and the wealthiest people own these investor-owned utilities. This is where your money goes. And there's a reason they don't own your wastewater treatment plant, by the way, because they don't have what you're selling there, or they don't want what you're selling there, but electricity is this huge commodity. And it's going to become much more acute over the next few months. Everybody's been following this thing with these giant data farms and server farms. And the price of electricity, all of you noticed, what did your Idaho Power bill do on January 1st? Went up 7.5%. Don't think that's ending anytime soon. And you look at these regions where they're putting in a lot of these giant server farms right now, and there is a critical backstop or backlog of electrical requirement. And I really don't feel a need to underwrite Google and Meta and whoever else with their giant AI server farms with my home power bill. The state of Idaho, according to the governor's energy plan that just came out, 80% of the energy in the state of Idaho is imported. We think that we make all this hydropower. We got all this energy. According to Brad Little, Governor Brad Little, 80% of our energy is imported. So we are as non-resilient and as vulnerable as probably any place in the United States, because we rely on other states to provide our energy for us. That's the governor. I don't think he's going to do anything other than try to make it look better than it is, but what are we going to do to make ourselves more resilient and provide our energy here? But it's a commodity, it's traded. You can go to the Mid-Columbia hub and look at it. CASO, which is the California utility manager, they actually oversee the Western grid. And you probably followed this thing a few years back where ERCOT melted down during the big ice storm and they had all the outages and people died and utilities crashed. Texas is its own utility. They have walled themselves off from any electricity coming and going. And it's how they've decided to do it. But there's 6 other of these giant grids, and we're in the Western grid, particularly the northern half called the Mid-Columbia hub, which is supervised by CASO. And because they're the largest population base within that hub. But this power is being endlessly bought and sold and manipulated. If you think people that are trading on this hub are doing anything other than make money, that's all they're out there to do.
Well,
Some places have your best interests at heart, but I Got Money says BlackRock doesn't know who you are. And that's the biggest stock owner of Idaho Power.
So going back to your Texas example where they walled themselves off and they had problems because they had all the weather issues and everything, how would that work? I mean, is this kind of walling McCall off, or if there was something that happened to our power grid, is there still an opportunity to get power from?
Yeah, you're still connected to the entire Western grid. And with this concept I was talking about, like virtual power plants, you can sign agreement, you can make electricity and sell it into the grid, or you can buy it from BPA is your best supplier because that's your cheapest source of electricity. That's what they were made to do. But you can buy electricity on the, it's traded on the Mid-Columbia hub. And Clearwater Power, Idaho County, Light and Power, Weiser, I think Burley and Rupert also, I know all the municipalities up north, they almost exclusively get their electricity from Bonneville Power. Very few of them actually have their own generation sources. Idaho Falls, the only one that don't mark my word on this, but they're the only ones that I know that has fairly large scale. Post Falls also has some hydro, but Idaho Power has hydro and they just put in a bunch of wind turbines. I know that as well. And but yeah, you can make this stuff now. We now have that capability. And Rick and I are both examples of that. I mean, I don't know if Rick has numbers off the top of his head, but in the 5 years since you've had solar, what's it saved you at your house? Or at your business? Yeah,
Basically pays our power bill.
yeah. And Meg, how much do you pay for electricity?
$5 a month.
There you go.
And I want to point out, if I can,
Can you go to the mic?
that when we put the solar panels on May Hardware, we had to work a deal with Idaho Power, which wasn't a great deal, and since then it's gotten way worse. So you can be the people who if this was your own power utility, you could encourage solar power, wind power, hydropower, all of those, and invest in batteries, large-scale batteries down the road once you get rolling. Because Idaho Power at this point discourages solar power. They don't want it. Just like Tuck said, they want to sell power. They'll tell you how to winterize your house maybe and, seal the cracks up so you don't, you save a few kilowatts, but they're selling power. That's what they do. And one other thing, you have a city-owned property that Tuck alluded to that's full of rooftops that you could I'm sure make some sort of deal with the hangar owners out there because none of those hangars use hardly any power, but they're perfect, wide open roofs for solar. So you could put a battery farm out there and charge it with those solar panels. So that's just one of the ideas that will come up if you make that step. So, anything to add, Doc?
Well, just to your point on Texas, do you know what the #1 state in the United States is right now for the installation of solar? Texas. Texas is now 30% run by wind and solar. The penetration of batteries in Texas, since that event 5 years ago, they have now installed so many utility scale backup storage batteries in Texas that they're no longer citing them. You can no longer go in and get a generation agreement to put in more batteries because the penetration was so significant after that event. And Ruby Red, Texas, if you think they're doing it for environmental purposes, you are sadly mistaken. They're doing it for one reason and one reason only, because it's cheaper than sticking a pipe in the ground and sucking natural gas out and putting it in a turbine to make an electricity. And it is the #1 state right now for the installation of solar and batteries. And I saw a great picture, I should have brought it with me. I saw a picture recently of 131 megapacks, which are these big, I think you saw one in your video. It's a Connex-sized storage battery, and there was 131 of them in the field, which represents plus or minus 500 megawatt hours of storage. And they were constructed, they were Tesla megapacks, they were constructed, this was 2 weeks production, 10 days production at Tesla. They were making 13 a day at the time. They're now up to about 20. That 131 megapacks that was made in 2 weeks represents Brownlee Dam. How long do you think it took to make Brownlee Dam? And look at the environmental impact that we have now in all these reservoirs. I mean, all you got to do is go to Cascade and see what's going on with the water there, and then every single reservoir downstream is the exact same. There is no difference. And there's 131 of these sitting in the field.
This is a very interesting topic. You have us captivated for sure, but we also have a few other presenters this evening, so.
It's Rick's fault.
No, this is really a really good discussion, and I think you laid it out why it's a very important topic. I don't know how we wrap this up with,
I could kind of give my concluding remarks and my thoughts about it. I think it's exciting. I mean, it's good to know that other communities, ones similar to our size, are doing that in Idaho. It feeds into our climate action plan for sure. I like the resiliency aspect of it, and of course the low cost for our residents would be, you know, a huge benefit. I think it's, at this point, it's a pretty low-risk proposal to get a task force going, assuming Meredith or some other staff member is okay with spending their time on that. So I like the idea.
I like it. I think we should task force to figure out what staff member and to explore the possibilities.
Yeah, I think we have bandwidth to spend some time at least starting to think about it.
so would it be worthwhile to bring back to another meeting a proposal on what that might look like?
There we go.
Deal. Chuck, Rick, thank you guys very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
It's,
Yeah, thanks for your time.
We look forward to looking into it more. All right, next up, we have a chamber report. You're still alive after Winter Carnival.
I am here. So, Sheila Francis, Executive Director of the McCall Area Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau. Winter Carnival's done. We did it. The weather showed up a little bit later than I ordered. I think it got sent to Florida or something. Kind of rude. But overall, so far we're still kind of debriefing and picking up the pieces and untangling all of the fun things. But overall, I think it went well. Moving the parade accomplished what we wanted it to. Spread people out over 2 weekends. So we were just talking about, imagine if there wasn't anything to do the second weekend and we had the gorgeous weather we had, but lack of snow. That would have been a real bummer. So, and speaking of the parade, I'm just really, really proud of all the entries. I think there were so many people in our community that put in a lot of great work, and a couple members here. Thank you for partaking. Really appreciate that. So, congratulations to the library. They won, which is so exciting. They have a cool trophy on the front desk I think I saw this morning, so very proud of that. Yeah, like I said, we'll be wrapping that up, scheduling a debrief via Aaron and Forrest to try and get all the feedback from the various departments, but we did it. So we'll see what I'm saying next time. But so far, let's get back to business as usual. We've got a business after hours coming up on March 18th, and that's at the Connector Cache. We're going to be starting up our coffee chats again. We're going to have a 3-month series of financial education and financial literacy that Washington Federal Bank is helping with. Then we've got our spring membership celebration in mid-May, and that's where we do the Lorraine Hawes Award. So look for invitations for all of those. Yeah, and honestly, I wrote that memo in the middle of everything, so I don't even know what else I put, but I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Questions, comments?
None for me. Thank you.
Yeah,
I think, thank you too, and a comment I heard commonly, I mean, when you think you hear a lot of comments, you know, unfortunately, sometimes as commissioners, we don't hear a lot of comments. So when you say, but of the few I did hear, that felt like a little more of a hometown carnival. You know, we weren't overwhelmed by out of town. And people really appreciated the community kind of pull together as be part of it. So that, I think that was something I did hear.
Okay. Glad to hear that too.
Yeah.
yeah, it was great to see all the floats. A lot of people put a lot of time and effort into it, and it was awesome. But You mentioned something about training opportunities. Can you back with that?
We are working on a 3-month financial education and literacy series with Washington Federal. So I'm hoping to have those dates solidified either tomorrow or early next week. So I'd be happy to share those.
Excellent. That's it. Congratulations
Great.
on making it through Carnival.
I've been here officially 1 year. So thank you. I'd love to stick around for a couple other items, but I got to go pick up a kiddo at ballet. So thank you so much.
Thanks. Okay, Sherry Maupin is up next. Give us our county commissioner report.
Good evening. I love seeing youth in the room. Come to our commissioner meeting. We'll love to have you there too. Few things going on. We are starting the conversations about updating the waterways management plan. We're gonna talk process at actually, we just had to extend that meeting until probably the first week in March. We'll have a conversation about how we're gonna do that and what that looks like. Lots of miscommunication out there right now. Whitewater Associates have asked to do a presentation this coming Tuesday. That's all it is a presentation, just like you received. That doesn't amount to anything. We will take their information and then we will move forward on the waterways management plan. So that will be a conversation where we will look at the updates needed. We'll hire someone if we need to, or have one of our directors take that. And then we will have open comment for the public. So the public will have an opportunity to discuss it. So just letting you know what's going on there. Wildfire grants are open right now. The first couple days that Mara had it open, we already had something like 15 or 20 applications. So the wildfire grants for home mitigation are really becoming very popular. Valley County since we received our SRS funding, we've put aside $50,000 for those. It's making a big impact in our community. So that was really exciting. We're having a conversation, we just adopted our comp plan. So we are having conversations on implementation strategies. We're gonna bring in some advisory groups and really look at how we implement some of the things that are called out in the comp plan this year. Our clerk is leaving. We are very sad to lose Doug Miller. He has done so much for the county, and so it is going to be a huge hole to replace him. Right now, applications are being taken by the Valley County Republican Central Committee. I believe that cuts off tomorrow, and then they'll do their interviews after that. Then we will have it, and the commissioners will appoint our next clerk, and then they will immediately run because they have to run the primary this year. So that's going to be a big change for us. We have solidified our agreements that the county will be managing the Horse Thief property moving forward, the campgrounds there. I'm very excited about that because the opportunity for financial gain is there with that. We have software in place now where you can actually go out and rent your space for both Horse Thief and Wellington as we move forward. We're monetizing these things so that we have funding for recreation. So all the recreation funds will go right back into either that spot or out on the forest for other recreation opportunities. Our fire director has written 2 grants for IDL state funding, and both of them are for $249,000 to do large firewise projects. You're gonna see one on West Mountain. West Mountain continues to burn. As we all know, almost every year we're trying to do as much mitigating work over there as we can. The other one's gonna be on East Mountain. Our Fairgrounds Master Plan is still open. We had our first community meeting with some recommendations and suggestions. I'd really love McCall residents to engage in that conversation too. I know it's in Cascade, but we are really putting some effort behind creating this as an event venue for large opportunities here. So everybody go out, put in your comments. It's out on the county website still under the fairgrounds. Go out and put your comments on what you'd like to see as for the fairground mitigation or fairground master planning. I think it's a very large opportunity. I didn't even know there was a fair and rodeo, to be honest, because they never had the opportunity to do any kind of marketing. We've already added 400 seats in the rodeo arena. So now you actually, well, last year they actually sold out still, but it's becoming to the point where it is also self-sustaining. We will be able to build on that for our community, and your 4-H kids are really engaged in that. The 4-H programs up here are really growing, so it's a huge part of our community. I wanted to give you a little bit of an update on the Housing Trust. So the Housing Trust has 9 members. We now have 16 units for local housing. We have 8 in Adams County, 8 in Valley County. We have another one that we're going to be adding to. Thank you for lot funding. We're actually going to put one in the Jacobs Manor subdivision this summer. And so we will have one more here in McCall. We do have one over in Broken Pine is the name of the road, so wherever it is, West Mountain.
Broken Ridge.
Yeah, so we're trying to create as many opportunities for local housing as we can. So we're making good progress. We're partners with IHFA on funding sources, and we're doing a lot of really great work there, so I'm very excited. I stand for questions. I'll let our road director talk to you about the race grant. We're excited about that.
Sounds good. Questions for Sherry?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the the ordinance, the waterways management plan, and you're also talking about that. Are you guys talking about? So I've had some questions recently from people about as it related to, for instance, I think like you said, there might be some misinformation out there, and people wondering whether or not there's an upcoming meeting related to jet boats on the North Fork above Cascade Reservoir. Is that what you're talking about Tuesday?
They're doing a presentation
Yeah,
only.
okay.
There's
So-
no discussion and no decisions being made. So
Yeah, and so then, when you say updating the waterways management plan, are you talking about updating the waterways management plan or updating the ordinance 20-11?
it'll be both.
And so then, what are the chances that somebody from the city could have a seat on the steering committee?
Absolutely. You held one before. I made a recommendation that we put together that steering committee again to do the updates. Maybe hire somebody to come in and help us do that. So that may be the direction we go. Obviously, I have 2 other voices to see what they envision also, but
I think
Yeah.
from the city standpoint, we would appreciate having some representation. and being
Absolutely.
participating in that, and since we kind of did that together and getting there, so if it's updating the management plan, which is intended to be a working document, and then to take that, and then if there's gonna be updates to the ordinance, then I think from the city standpoint, we'd love to have some
Okay.
involvement and participation.
absolutely. We will
Thank
reach
you.
back.
So just on that topic too, because this presentation you're talking about has caused quite a stir, as you can imagine. So there's no, so as far as you know right now, the intent is to update the waterways management plan before before the current ordinance would be changed.
Correct.
Okay.
And there's also a lot of misinformation. And it'll be interesting to hear what they have to say. I've not gotten a presentation from them in the past, so I don't know what the conversation is. But if you look on maps, there's a lot of these areas where mini jet boats are going through nature preserves, which are controlled. Bureau of Rec controls those. So there's already a stop to where some of this is happening, and so enforcement might be an issue too. But I will listen to their presentation, and we will have a full conversation about it, but not on Tuesday, just a presentation.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Yep, always happy to come and answer questions.
And Sherry, Doug Miller's position is elected every X amount of years, and so you will be filling the position that his current term, and then there'll be election again, and that person who appointed, if they want to, will then be in the election.
Correct.
Okay.
His term would expire this year, so he would have had to primary in May and ran in the general election in November. So this person, whoever's appointed, will have to primary in May, and then will hold the job until whoever wins in November, and then be placed again in January.
Just curiosity, how long is that term for?
4 years. Yep.
I
Doug
agree
is-
with you, Doug's been remarkable.
It is a very large job. Most people don't understand some of these elected positions, but this one it's a very large job. giving grace to your clerk who's sitting there.
We understand.
They do a
yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
yeah, to keep the functioning government running and keeping us all corralled. And Doug feels like he herds cats a lot. I'm sure you do too. Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Sherry. All right, on to the monthly department reports. Does anyone have questions on the department reports?
Fun for me.
I have none.
I just had one quick one going through. I saw I think it was the building permit revenue for December was exceptionally high. Can we get an update on?
Michelle's on mine.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'll need to look at the specific report, but we did receive building permits for a larger project in town.
Okay.
And that's why I think you're seeing that bump. Kind of an unusual time.
Yeah, it's not.
I will also say this is sort of unrelated to the revenues, but we have seen certain projects continue to work through the winter given the weather.
Yeah. Yeah, it stood out a little bit, seeing it's like 5 times as much as
Yeah.
any other year. Okay. Nothing else on the council reports, or department reports, council reports.
I would just say how impressed I am with the Valley County BSU's process and progress in studying the balance between environmental stewardship, growth, and the economy. And I think if everybody's familiar with that, there's a resilience study being funded in Valley County, steered in part by BSU's Resilience Institute. And they have 4 work groups, and I participate in one of those work groups, and I am really impressed with who's sitting in that work group and the amount of community engagement, and my belief in that some of the outcomes about how we develop future ordinances and policy around environmental stewardship and growth is going to influence both the city and the county. Is that fair, Sherry?
I'll just bring up something. I was able to attend the Pay It Like Watershed Advisory Group meeting, so there's some exciting things coming out of that. They are working with the state to get a plan for the Eurasian milfoil infestation, and the state believes that that'll be out to the public sometime this month. They're still on track for that. They're moving forward with trying to get locations for boat cleaning stations, so that looks like that is really going to be a possibility, and the IDT and the state police are coordinating and being good partners in helping us figure out where to put those and potentially giving us locations where those things can happen. They're also working on nearshore testing. They got still working on getting samples and putting that together, but I think they have money to start that, which is good news. And then they're also working on updating the Big Payette Lake Management Plan, which is, I think, just kind of starting in more of a longer term thing, but a lot of exciting things coming out of that group.
New report from Mike. Our only thing out of the winter rec committee is the potential of, or some interest in starting the summer version of that would basically collect the summer recreation groups in the area and being kind of an advisory group to the Forest Service. So that's interesting, and we'll update as that progresses. We also had a JWAG meeting last week for the first time in a year and a half, so that was progress, and I think we're gonna have another meeting sometime this spring. Kind of take a closer look on projects that are gonna be happening over the summer, kind of work on some of those details. Continue to see if we can identify any opportunities that we can find more connections for local housing. But I think it remains an uphill battle. And of course, House Bill 583 passed through this afternoon or this morning, in an effort to take away our ability to have any sort of oversight on short-term rentals. So that was a bit frustrating, and we'll see what happens in the Senate with that.
Mayor Colby, on the, and Bessie Jo, on that House Bill 583, is there any restriction on collecting the lot tax on short-term rentals? Is that in jeopardy, accommodation tax, or is that they're saying you cannot administer, but they're still going to be required to pay the lot accommodation?
Yeah, that is correct, Councilmember Nelson. We will still be able to collect the local option tax. However, it will become a more onerous process because they will not be required to register. So we will have to likely employ some type of software that can help us identify those at a large dollar price point.
Yeah, there is a financial impact because the actually knowing who should be paying lot would become more difficult. There are third-party services that provide information on short-term rentals in a community. This bill also would eliminate the ability to require any sort of license or permit. So we lose information from that. That there's lost revenue from that, but that revenue basically offsets the cost of administering those licenses. So in theory, that's a net neutral, but not necessarily.
One of the most concerning aspects of it with the inability to have any sort of licensing or permitting, though they do state that, the basic safety requirements in the houses, there's no mechanism to ensure that they comply with these safety standards. And it's a self-reporting thing, and we don't know who would need to self-report, so, yeah,
It'll be the Wild West.
could be.
No
And-
CUPs.
No CUPs, yeah, it's very restrictive, pretty scary. And so we'll see if we can change it in the Senate. All right, we better keep moving, it's getting late. Finally into our business agenda, first up is the letter of support for the Valley County Build Grant application.
Hello, I'm Kirsten Dietrich, the new Road and Bridge Director for Valley County. I'd state my address at the shop, but I don't have it memorized. I think it's 520 South something in Cascade. Sorry, I'll memorize our address here soon. So I'm here today to represent this request for a letter of support for the Build Grant. I started at the county at the end of October, and this grant it had kind of a rapid deadline, but our grant writer identified that it was something that we should really try and make a fast push for. So we actually talked to Delta
your grant writer, I'm not sure exactly what her title is, and she recommended that based on some of the language in this letter that I come and kind of explain the thought process behind what we're doing here. So the build grant that we are seeking would provide a planning grant that would enable us to provide infrastructure planning, so basically engineering and design for the West Mountain Corridor. And in our grant application, we're identifying the West Mountain Corridor as originating from McCall city limits and extending down West Mountain, including Smiley Lane to Highway 55, but because it's contiguous, and then continuing down the West Mountain to actually Cabarton Road to Highway 55. So it's addressing a parallel corridor to the Highway 55 corridor that the county is seeing continued and increasing traffic on to access, the Blackhawk phases, Whitetail, recreational access on Smiley Lane, and access to Tamarack and south of Tamarack. So right now, if you are coming from the south and you punch in to Google to get over to Blackhawk, a lot of times they'll route you Smiley Lane over to West Mountain Road. And there's large portions of that are not paved. It's a varying kind of mixture in that corridor of road conditions. So this, the build grant, and I think what I'm trying to do with our department is identify some, instead of focusing on small things, we're going to try and start focusing on large things. And this application would provide the ability for us to have a fully designed corridor for that road system that would enable us to tick off segments of future asphalt paving or whatever roadway improvements are required in that corridor. The thing that I think probably brought me here to represent the letter request in person is some of the language in the letter, which is kind of specific talking points for grant purposes. Like grant writers are very good at what they do. They're targeting specific language that is going to get the attention of who the reviewer is. And so in this letter, it does say that, we're asking the city of McCall for support. And it is to support, I'll kind of paraphrase here or read a portion of the letter, but as the economic hub of the West Central Mountains, McCall considers the modernization of West Mountain Road corridor a top priority for our regional safety, economic stability, and housing needs. And so some of the items identified in this letter speak to economic growth and tourism connectivity. So we want to strengthen recreational economy, enhance regional connectivity, support commerce and small business, drive private investment, and facilitate housing and workforce access. So there is a note here that says, unlock new developments, providing the technical roadmap to ensure new housing projects have safe, modern access from day one, and improve workforce mobility, creating diverse and resilient commuting options so people who work in McCall can affordably and safely live in the surrounding county. So we're asking for this support from other jurisdictions as well. So we're going to ask from City of Cascade, City of Donnelly, ITD, other agencies. And I think it's just, my primary kind of statement on this is if we want to plan for the future, these are the types of swings that we need to be making to support that. I can't, I see it as my job to technically review the developments that are coming my way, not to do an opinion-based observation of it, but it's to provide the infrastructure that's required for said development if approved by others, right? So I think that is the vision for proper transportation planning that we need to start thinking about in our region to provide safe roads, to support our jurisdictions and our local safety officers and essential personnel in doing their jobs appropriately. So with that, I can answer any specific questions that you have.
Right. Questions?
None for me.
Yeah, I have a question. So you have a statement here. It says, because the West Mountain Road corridor is primary area for our future residential growth. where's that statement coming from in terms, it's a primary area? Other than Red Ridge, are there a lot of other development applications occurring down that?
No, I wouldn't say a lot. There's some that have questioned development applications in that zone. The Red Ridge is the active one that I'm aware of that has been routed to other agencies. But it's important to understand the history of that area has had several different concept plans that would have residential housing span across that side of the valley. And one of the things that I had our grant writer focus on here is, regardless of how people feel about it, when you open up housing in one spot, it relieves housing issues in another spot. So, when we think about like creating workforce housing, there's the missing middle component. That is, if you allow development or residential development in a different area, it a lot of times frees up an affordable house somewhere else for somebody else that is going to move on to their next house or their better house or their more expensive house. So, and that's a known planning strategy. So part of the component in here is like, we know that people have looked at the west side of the valley for residential development for years, since the 80s. The planning department, the Valley County Planning Department, has received conceptual plans for those areas. Now, we only know what has been submitted as an application. I think it would be naive to think that we need not improve the West Mountain corridor. People are traveling it frequently, and there's active pits over there that are pulling gravel for development currently. So right now, if they travel north, they're on a paved road. Right now, if they travel south, they hit a non-paved road that is going past residential. And we do receive a considerable amount of complaints about the dust issues with that. So but if I don't have a designed road, I can't pave a road necessarily. So this would provide those measures for me to properly address the engineering, so that someday, if we appropriate the funds via this or that, we could identify segments that would get improvements.
Right, and Michelle, is Michelle still online? Hey, Michelle, can you hear me? Well, if you guys want to go ahead, maybe she'll.
Sorry,
Yeah, no,
I
that's.
just walked away for a minute.
You thought you were safe. I wanted to just kind of get your take on, in the first paragraph of this letter, it says McCall considers the modernization of the West Mountain Road corridor a top priority for our regional safety, economic stability, and housing needs. What you're kind of our planning guru here. What, in terms of like our comprehensive plan or our transportation plan, like how does this West Mountain Road modernization kind of fit into our plans? Or does it?
Yeah, I think like in terms of the transportation, I'd probably defer to Nathan on that. I think those statements are pretty broad in general. So I think like in some ways, right, I think it doesn't really tap into, say, like McCall area comprehensive plan. It's probably more of the Valley County comprehensive plan and sort of their vision for their development sort of pattern and transportation pattern. But I would say like the way that that's written is pretty general.
We have, since I started, which is my tenure has not been very long, but Nathan and I have been working together pretty consistently, and we've specifically talked about this zone, and I will not speak for Nathan, but basically from Blackhawk to city limits, with the changing impact area, this is something that has to be kind of critically worked on between the two agencies. And it would fall into the corridor for future planning if this grant was awarded. So I would see that as a positive for both, because I can't remember the name of the development on the corner because there are so many applications right now, but Broken Ridge. So that has an application that's active right now. So that's one that we're kind of co-reviewing. And things like that zone where if we had the grant awarded to us, we could continue to look at like improvements that affect both the city and the county. That's just in my opinion, that's a positive. I think Nathan could say his opinion, but.
Nathan, do you want to add anything to this? Might be a good time to.
Yeah, sure.
Chairman?
Nathan Stewart, Public Works Director. I think, the city has concerns on how traffic flows in and out of the town when you have increased development along the West Mountain Corridor and there's no way for those people to get in and out practically without coming through town. We're seeing that traffic. Now, that traffic's going to come to McCall anyway to buy their groceries, to go to the hardware store, to go out for dinner. But I think what the goal of the project is to develop the planning documents, the engineering design for that area. So I think regardless of how the development comes or not, having a roadmap is always important. And I think when we met with Kirsten, we were really concerned to make sure that the plan also considered how impacts of that roadway or increased use of that road corridor has impacts on our streets. And I think she's expanded the scope of the project to accommodate that. So that's a good thing for us.
Yeah, I think it'd be quite phenomenal if we had a nice quality Smiley to West Mountain and West Mountain down to Tamarack and all the way down to Cascade. So I think us signing on to a letter of support is a no-brainer. And I think I commend you for the work that you're doing to try to improve the area overall, especially in light of the amount of traffic that we now have on Highway 55. And so to decrease the amount of traffic on 55, to decrease the amount of traffic for people, for instance, going to say the areas around Blackhawk and that, to have to come into town basically and then go down there versus to be able to actually drive. It's a rodeo to try to go out to West Mountain Road, and you can't go south. So
Well, in the winter, you can't go south, right? So
winter you cannot go south, and it can be very much of a rodeo in the spring there, not to mention any kind of connection between Tamarack and Cascade is a bit of a rodeo in the summer. So
And you said
Great.
you're looking down to Cabarton.
Yeah, so the part of what the beauty of this is it aligns with parts of our transportation plan. So Smiley Lane and sections of West Mountain, I'll call it like the north and the south, are already identified in our transportation plan for like improvement. So if we are awarded the grant, it just makes it easier for us to identify and appropriate funds to segments for improvement. And you're correct. So right now, you do get kind of stuck back there on that side of the river, on the west side of the river. So having a safe alternate option is great. And I think, if I'm going to get on my transportation planning soapbox, the more we can distribute trips throughout the county is going to help with our roads issues. Like obviously, the conditions of our roads in the county are requiring serious attention that is, I am focused on 100% of every day right now. Spreading out that traffic in an appropriate manner is going to help everyone have a better road. So, this is one way we do it.
Lyle?
I'm on board. I understand the grant writing language that you need to use to meet the requirements of the grant. I think if we can reduce the amount of miles driven period in Valley County, and so that every mile saved is a bit of quality of air saved, and I think this does that.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the letter of support for Valley County's build grant application.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Manchese,
Yes?
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Mayor Nielsen.
Yes.
Councilmember Thrower.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. Thanks, Kirsten. We appreciate it. Okay. Up next, we have the request to consider recommendation by P&Z to vacate East Second Street.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Meredith Todd, City and Sustainability Planner. As the agenda bill describes, this is the continuation of deliberations and decision on the request or recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission to vacate that eastern undeveloped segment of Diamond Street in favor of a private 40-foot roadway section to serve as a driveway maintained by Private Road Owners Association. As promised, while we did have to continue this deliberation due to my error in labeling things using proper file numbers, I did prepare a draft decision document, and you should each have at your places a couple last-minute red lines that Bessie Jo reminded me that I owed you to correct a couple labeling things, and then remove live hosted links from the way we phrase comments and keep them more generalized, because links are not forever, but law is. Yay, that's a funny joke. So I'm happy to walk you through the details of the project again. The conditions of approval basically entail them going about the process of drafting their final road maintenance agreement, submitting the revised record of survey with all of the appropriate notes on its face to include the instrument numbers for an adopted road maintenance agreement. We walked through each of those and the red lines last time, but I can stand for any questions, any additional red lines on that draft decision document that you may have, or any other thoughts that might come to you.
Questions, comments?
No, I think we, with those minor corrections, I mean, they're not minor, but they're language corrections, and we went over this quite thoroughly, and there seems to be no resistance to it from any of the neighbors. It's a plus for everybody. And so for me, I'm ready to move forward on it.
Yep, me too.
And I'll very directly apologize to Herschel Warner. In the record, I wrote his name was Herschel Walker in the initial draft, for which I apologize. Freudian slip.
I thought you just had a coincidental, powerful name.
Nope.
And so in the motion, we just need to mention as.
Mayor Bill Punkany, City Attorney, and I had a chance to review this before the meeting today, and I'm fine with it, so I don't need to do an additional review.
Okay.
Do we need, Bessie Jo, do you think we need to verbalize each of those red lines, or is as redlined okay with you?
As presented.
Okay.
Okay. I move to approve VAC-25-03 with P and Z recommended conditions of approval and adopt the decision document as presented.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Thrower,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Mayor Nielsen,
Yes,
Councilmember Manchese,
Yes.
motion carries. Thanks for all the red lines.
Yes, thank you.
All right, up next, we have Michelle with a request to submit public comment letter to Valley County.
Okay, sorry about my
Well, you
dog.
materialized.
I know. I was just next door working and I had my dog and he was talking and I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
It got a little crazy for a minute.
But there was like teleported or something.
You had a great recovery line. I refer you to Nathan.
Yeah, I was like, if we're talking about transportation, there's been a lot of correspondence between Valley County and the city of McCall as it relates to transportation, and I think it's exciting to, Valley County has expertise in moving towards sort of more long-range planning and that sort of thing. So I think that was sort of, I wanted to make sure Nathan had a chance to talk a little bit about that. So the item in front of you this evening is a letter regarding the Red Ridge public comment. You may remember that you approved a previous version. And so we looked at kind of our previous letter and did another internal review at the staff level with multiple staff people. Basically, there's a concept plan for the Red Ridge Concept Village that's going to the Valley County Planning and Zoning on Wednesday, February 25th. The application itself has changed. It's still located on about 2,200 acres. It's located southwest of McCall in Valley County. Now there are 770 residential units at full build out, and there's kind of some small mixed use village center. The average density across the whole project is 1 dwelling per 3.3 acres. And then about 1,400 acres are designated as open space. Primary access would be off of West Mountain Road, so it's good that we're looking at that transportation system. And the application addresses a number of different things. So in your packet this evening, there's a draft letter. I'm just gonna get there. And really what it does is it goes through a number of different topic areas. So it looks at land use planning, phasing, fiscal impact analysis, how this relates to the long-range planning of both Valley County Comprehensive Plan as well as the McCall Area Comprehensive Plan. It goes into the importance of development agreements and phasing tools. I think one of the big things when you look at a project of this size is really understanding that fiscal impact study and what's the cost to provide public services versus what are you getting in return. There's a whole section on workforce housing, and I'll get into the specifics in just a minute. Staff noted areas where the application was incomplete, and there's some general information related to the transportation impacts kind of based on what we know now. And like I said, I think there was correspondence just today highlighting the importance of kind of a development agreement to get some clarity and some more refined information there. The letter also touches on wildfire protection and emergency access, open space trails and public access. And I think ultimately, what this letter does is it points out that they've provided more information than the last time. It's still pretty vague on a lot of these different areas. I know the county has sort of a process in place where they look at a concept plan and then they may dig into specific phases with more detail. I think the hard part in something like this is are you going to provide a general entitlement without really understanding what it all means? And are you willing to kind of put off some of those answers? So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on any of those topic areas. It was an effort of multiple departments, obviously, and staff people, depending on expertise. But happy to answer any questions.
I think you did a great job on the letter. I'm completely confused on how exactly they think they're gonna sell anything over there, but that's another subject. So whether it's something like this, even if it did happen, whether it's actually could functionally happen is interesting, but yeah.
It's a relatively large-scale development, obviously, for Valley County. It will have a lot of, I think, especially as it relates to transportation, impacts on our community, as the majority of people would be utilizing services within McCall.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just if they could actually build it, and if they could actually sell anything, because Jug Mountain Ranch has been here since 2003, and that's not built out. Blackhawk's not built out. Can't get sewer connections down there. Like White Cloud's not built out. Like it's interesting what they're actually doing, or whether this could ever actually be a reality. Not that it would have significant impacts, and I think your letter clarifies that.
I think that's the challenge.
There may or may not
That's
have
the
any
challenge
value.
with a concept plan that provides
Yeah.
entitlements without details. You're essentially, supporting speculation without
Right.
any commitment on.
They can just get it entitled and sell it to their Texas buddies.
And that's what sometimes people do, and they change the valuation on the property, and they're playing another game that,
Thanks, Mike. a concern is to me water, and you can pull as much water out of the ground to supply that, but it has a drastic environmental impact. My group that I work with, the project I mentioned earlier, is water stewardship. And anytime you pull water out of the ground at one temperature and spray it out over yards or use it or send it to your sewer plant and put it back in at a different temperature, you're having and I have a scientist on that group that's amazing, that lives in Valley County, Leonard Long. And the impacts on water are far greater than what we think. And we don't look at the impact of some of these things. So for me, I kind of think also that water, ultimately, that impacts the water in Payette Lake. It impacts the nutrient load flowing to Payette Lake. And so when I look at the traffic impacts and many other impacts, I just want to make sure that we accentuate the impact of water. And what is the mitigation of, what is low impact development? And is it important to do low impact development, meaning water, that far away from, say, our town? Of course, it's not that far away, but it is definitely a watershed impact. And it will cost us, I think, somewhat as a city, as we try to, if we don't look at water as an issue. So for me, I just would think that low impact developments, which means how do you create least amount of impact on water use, the things that Nathan's mentioned to us, about the landscape and the water, the flow and all that. That is going to impact us. What they do up there in terms of water is going to impact our lake, our streams. Our water temperature goes up, the water flowing into the lake goes up, the temperature of the lake goes up. So anyhow, I just might make sure that across the spectrum, our letter's fine. I was just thinking that we're kind of underestimating the impact on water. Said my piece.
Okay.
Fine with the letter.
Would the council like me to add something specific related to water as it relates to what they're proposing, or?
Yeah,
I mean, this is basically this is a general letter for a concept.
Yeah.
I think there'll be opportunities to dig into the details once we have more information.
Yeah, I think your letter is great.
Me too. I'm ready to approve it.
Well written, clear, factual.
I write the best letters.
You do?
My name's on it.
Oh, yeah, you do. This is a fantastic letter, Colby. Mayor Colby.
I was like, what's wrong with my letter? No, it's very comprehensive. I appreciate everybody's input in it.
I make the motion to approve the agency comment letter for submittal to Valley County and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the letter. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Manchezik?
Yes.
Councilmember Thrower?
Yes.
Mayor Nielsen?
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank
We'll
you.
get it signed and sent. All right, up next is Morgan with a request to award construction contract, but I guess Nathan's doing it.
Yes, I will. Thank you. Morgan's been tremendously busy in the background. I told her I'd take care of this for her tonight. And after coming in front of you multiple times in the last month with not such positive news, it's my pleasure to present to you an agenda bill for contract award tonight. And particularly a really important one for our city campus. With the help of our planning and economic development team, we applied for a wonderful grant through the FTA. And this is a collaborative project with your Urban Renewal Agency as well as the Central District Health Department. We completed the bidding in January, and we received very competitive bids. And the bids came in under our engineer's estimate, which is really positive. I think that shows the tremendous amount of competition we now have in the public works roadway construction arena. A bit different than what we're seeing in the water treatment and water storage tank arena. But I've provided you a copy of the plans, a comprehensive bid analysis, there was, just like most of our bids these days, a little bit of a hiccup in the review of the low bid and its integrity. We worked with Bill Punkeny in his office to review that. And what we basically determined was that irregularity was really non-material. And we have a note in our specifications that non-material irregularities can be accepted. And so we met with the low bidder, and we've even added some language in our draft contract that addresses that, and that low bidder is perfectly willing to accept that language. So with that, I'll stand for questions. You have a recommended motion in front of you.
Question for Nathan?
I have a question. Has K2 done work up here before?
They have, yeah. In fact, they just completed our Mission Street project, and they were the contractor that the sewer district was able to hire when they were unable to get a contractor when they bid their component, and K2 came in and bailed them out. They're a new company. They've gone through some growing pains. We've had some issues, but they're well aware of that, and by and large, they're responsive to correcting their actions, and the Mission Street project came in on budget.
I'm ready. I move we conditionally award the McCall City Campus Site Improvements Project to K2 Excavation and Construction LLC in the amount of $916,670.43 pending federal environmental approval. Authorize the mayor to sign all documents and authorize staff to manage change orders up to 10% of the contract price.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote on it?
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Thrower,
Yes.
Mayor Nielsen,
Yes.
Councilmember Manchezik,
Yes.
All right, motion carries. And I think it's, one thing we didn't point out is that the vast majority of this is being paid with grant funding.
That's correct.
You spelled out the numbers.
I did. That's your desire. We will always do it. And I get it. Okay. If my computer will work. We've been having computer problems today. I was on the meeting over in Public Works and the internet just went out. But, are you ready for the next agenda?
Yeah, let's
Bill?
move on to the next one.
Great, okay. So, we're now switching from like a campus city property project improvement. This is now getting straight to the heart and the root of our maintenance improvement plan. As you're aware, we have a capital improvement plan and we have a maintenance improvement plan. Those are 5-year plans that we present in the spring during budget season. And recently we did a major chip seal project over this past year. So this project falls into your maintenance improvement plan budget. And this type of project is an asphalt restoration project. So we are removing asphalt and we are repaving asphalt. We are not doing extensive enhancements to the right-of-way. There aren't bike lane additions. There aren't sidewalk additions, street trees, light poles, none of those things. This is really focusing your money on asphalt restoration. Per that approved plan, we had 2 different components to the project. Repaving of Dinehard Lane between Thula and West Valley Road. So that would be west from Thula, around the airport, down over the bridge, up the other side. If you've driven that, you're well aware that the asphalt condition's in bad shape. We've been doing extensive pothole repairs every spring, and that's an essential corridor. So if it blows up, people notice, and it's important that we take care of that. It's also important that we take care of it given our long-range vision of making that a bypass and different negotiations we might have with the state agencies. So the other component of this project, which was a bid alternate because we didn't know where the bid prices would come in, is the repaving of Warren Wagon Road. Very similar asphalt condition, high-use collector road. And so repaving that roadway basically to bring it back to its new condition as far as the asphalt is in this project. We completed the bidding. Bid opening was on the 29th, and we received very favorable bids once again, very competitive bids. There's a letter from Horrocks in your packet identifying that. The bids came in under the engineer's estimate, and Sunny Ridge this time was the low bidder. We did not have any complications or irregularities in their bid submittal, so that made it a little bit cleaner. And Sunny Ridge was the subcontractor to Nelson, who did the paving on Davis this year. So you're seeing some new names. Nelson is a new company, Sunny Ridge is a new company, K2 is a new company. And they're all working together in different ways to make these projects work. But the good thing for the community is that the prices are starting to come down because we're seeing more competition. People are trying to tighten their numbers. So because the bids came in where they are, we have the funding in place to do both Dinehard Lane as well as Warren Wagon. And so it's staff's recommendation in accordance with our maintenance improvement plan that you award both the base bid and the bid alternate.
Questions on these projects?
Not for me. I move we award the 2026 City of McCall Mill Overlay Culvert Replacement, Dinehart Lane and Warren Wagon Road construction contract to Sunny Ridge Construction LLC in the amount of $2,612,356.75 and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents and allow staff to manage project change orders within 10% of the contract amount.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Thrower,
Yes.
Mayor Nielsen,
Yes.
Councilmember Machezik.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Up next, we have the chief talking about janitorial services.
Wow.
The
You gotta get down in the
glamorous-
weeds sometimes, don't you?
Glamorous-
Glamorous part of the job, yeah. Good evening, Dallas Palmer, Chief of Police with the McCall Police Department. I have a super basic, simple one for you. We are simply moving from our current janitorial services contractor to the same services contractor that we utilize here at the library and City Hall and some of the other city facilities. So minimal impact. There's a minor cost increase. We see it going from just about $9,000, moving up about $1,300, but they're offering a bit more service, and we're looking forward to that increased performance on their end. So just looking for your award of that new contract.
Everyone feel good about that?
Yep.
Motion?
I move we award the contract for janitorial services at the McCall Police Department to McCall Cleaners LLC and approve the mayor to sign all necessary documentation.
Second?
That motion has been made and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Thrower,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Mayor Nielsen,
Yes.
Councilmember Machezik.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Thanks, Dallas.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, up next is Bessie Joe, and we're discussing our local option tax commission appointments.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Council, Bessie Jo Wagner, City Clerk. We have before you today some appointments to our local option tax commission. This commission is unique in that they do not meet regularly, so they don't need to review like any applicants for replacement on the commission. And so that is solely up to the council discretion on who they would like to appoint. We do have 5 appointments this evening. I am recommending that the 2 current members be reappointed. That would be Dave Petty and Tabitha Martineau. They bring continuity to the commission. We had 2 new members last year, and then with these additional 3, there's a lot of newness to that commission. So the two positions that are currently vacant are a citizens at large. We have two positions, and we have three applicants. We have Candy Millar, Sheila Francis, and Stacy Bowers. Also then for the business owner representation, we have three applicants. We have Haley Johnson, Jacob Bird, and Lynn Green. These positions vary in their expiration dates, as they, two of them are filling positions of people that have resigned the commission. So that's why you see that there's a 3-year term, a 2-year term, and a 4-year term that we are filling. I did invite all of the applicants to attend if they could. I did not tell them that it was required. Some were able to and some were not. I believe that I have not met the two that are in the audience, so I cannot tell you what their names are, but they are Jacob.
Yes, Jacob Bird.
And Stacy. And Stacy Bowers. So those are the two that are present, if you want to ask them any questions. But again, they're, everybody stands on their merit with their letters of recommendation, or letters of interest. So I leave it to you to discuss and appoint.
All right. Well, thanks for the intro to that. Yeah, I guess we should probably hear from the two folks that are in the room and who have stuck it out for quite a while. I appreciate it. You've learned a lot about the city stuff. I guess, Stacy, do you want to?
Do I need to
Yeah.
come up to the
Yes,
Come
podium?
up.
Do I need to say my name and my address?
Yes.
Yes, please.
I'm Stacy Bowers, 104 Mather, so I live in McCall. And I don't know what you want to hear from me, but
Well,
do you want like a general?
yeah, tell us why you want to be on the law commission.
Well, I believe in the law tax. I support the law tax, and I voted for it twice. I've been involved in my community in kind of different ways over time, but I thought this might be a little bit more of a permanent thing instead of just kind of volunteering here and there between, like, you know, the Arts Commission, the McCall Arts Commission. I've helped out with ski stuff, you know, on the ski mountains, Red Cross, the land trusts, things like that. So I like to be involved in the community, and I just live down the street. So I saw it was up for candidates, so I decided to throw my hat in the ring. I'm a native of Idaho. I was born and raised in the Valley. I've lived up here full time for about 13 years now. I'm a realtor, so I guess I'm a self-employed person in the community. There's a lot of growth happening and a lot of tourism happening, and I think the lot tax is a good way to kind of spread that money around to the community. So happy to answer any questions from anybody.
Questions for Stacy?
I know Stacy and her involvement in the community, so I don't have any questions.
Same.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good?
Yeah,
Well, thanks,
I'm good
Stacy.
Well, thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
having me.
Jacob, come on up.
I will point out that Haley Johnson was here earlier, but she had to leave
Oh,
prior
yeah.
to getting to this point, so just to let you know that.
Thanks. So my name's Jacob Bird. I live at 911 Hay Street here in McCall. Been a resident of McCall for 11 years, 11 or 12. And I run a few of the hotels here in town, as well as one hotel down in the Treasure Valley. So while I am not a native Idahoan, I have spent my whole adult life here, and am very heavily involved in you know, the foremost industry in McCall, so tourism by way of hotels and restaurants. I submitted my little letter of interest. I do have a bit of an academic background that could make me of value. I hold 2 master's degrees. The first was in like business management with an economic focus. The second was in political science with an economic focus. So I'm looking to kind of immerse myself a little bit more in local politics, utilizing my economic background. And am excited at the opportunity to learn a little bit more about the Lot Commission, what all proposals come across that, and then fairly distribute. So I stand for questions if you guys have any.
Questions for Jacob?
Yeah, no, I do a little bit.
Sure.
You're in the industry that produces part of the revenue that you
Exactly.
then be distributing. And so I would like to hear your take on how you think the accommodation attitude, or maybe yours in particular, about the fairness and practicality of having a lot tax on accommodations to do the things we do with it to distribute across the community. You would be on both sides of it now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Especially within a resort community, something like the local options tax to, try to make responsible and maintainable tourism is necessary. You can't necessarily just tax all citizens. There has to be that added burden placed on tourists. So, of course, there is a degree of bias that I have as someone within the industry. However, that's the benefit of having so many people on the commission, because they would be able to, in theory, balance each other out. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, I think it does, and then in part also, I mean, the practicality of needing a lot tax, but the lot tax, it does much more than support the tourism.
Absolutely.
And much more than recruiting people to be, with all the city services that, and do you feel that the allocating lot taxes to those kinds of other services is good use of lot tax money?
Yes.
Okay. Great, Jason, thanks.
Yeah. Any questions from any other?
No.
Okay.
I think we're
If that
good.
changes, let me know.
Appreciate it, Jacob.
Yeah, thanks for hanging in there. I would like to comment, Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
I know Haley Johnson. I've worked with Haley quite a bit in a role with the Palisade, or Ponderosa Center, and she worked there. She put on her resume, she's, works at St. Luke's now. I don't know her from that relationship. I know her from the Ponderosa Center, and I had to work with her. And I think she is a really qualified, well immersed into McCall candidate.
Mayor, if I may, I apologize. Haley did send me an additional email, and I meant to send it out to you all, and I totally forgot. She did say that she planned to be here, but probably would have to leave. She said that she wanted to let you know that that she is resigning from the Area Chamber of Commerce after May. That's when she concludes her service there, and that she's not going to seek another term because she wants to focus more of her time on leadership and new opportunities. And I did also want to let you know that Jacob qualifies for both either the resident position or the business position. So there is one business position and two resident positions.
Oh, I'm sorry, you say that again, there's one business?
One business
One
position and
business
two residents.
resident.
Got that.
I have a suggestion if we want to entertain it.
Yeah.
And it's based upon those Dave and Tabitha who have served, so definitely on board with everything that they have done in our community. The next item, I think, is weighing, as we know, on serving on anything, people that show up is important, which is something that I guess I feel strongly about. And so I think we have some people that have shown up. And then also in the case of Haley Johnson, I would also weigh that letter of recommendation from Jenny Rumley, who's been here for 30-some years and done a lot of service in this community. I would weigh her recommendation somewhat heavily. So I guess my suggestion would be is that we reappoint Dave and Tabitha, and then Jacob Bird for the 3-year, or excuse me, Haley Johnson for the 3-year business owner vacancy, and then Jacob Bird to the 2-year, and Stacy to the 4-year, unless anybody sees something different, but that's a suggestion. based upon those factors, I guess was.
Yeah, I know, thanks, Mike. I had a question, because, and I mean, this changes a little bit, the number of people that, with Haley saying that she's resigning from the board of the Chamber of Commerce. I just sort of, I mean, my concern is we have a lot of people, applicants that are on the chamber board. They are an organization that routinely applies for lot funding and gets awarded lot funding. And I didn't know, does the lot commission have, is there anything in their bylaws or anything like that in terms of conflicts of interest, or how do they deal with it when, you know, whether it's a business or an organization or something, how do they deal with that?
They recuse. We've had several throughout the year that have been on a part of whatever applicant comes across that have had to recuse over time. And so they just recuse from, because they sort of rank all the projects and how much Right, money so they get,
so
they
just
recuse from that. They don't rank it. They
rank
don't-
that project of
Right.
the organization they're with.
Correct, they do not rank that, and then they do not vote on that item, they recuse from that item on voting, and they're not involved in the conversation. So, so we always account for that, because of having such a large, commission that cover a wide variety of our community.
Sure, yeah.
We generally always have somebody that is associated with one of the applications, and so, because usually we get around 35 applications, so, so we just make sure that at the beginning, anybody discloses if they're, affiliated with any of the organizations that have applied.
Okay, thank you, Bessie Jo.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And who are the two that are not up for, or they're continuing their term?
That have resigned.
Wait, so I thought besides them, weren't there, you say two or
Oh,
three
that are
new
continuing.
people?
Matt Stebbins is continuing, and Claire Bowman.
Oh, well, continuing, sorry.
Continuing in the sense that their terms aren't.
Yeah, but they're not.
They're still on.
Correct, they're still on. And so, Matt and Claire were appointed last year. Claire is a member of the MRA, and Matt Stebbins is a member of the McCall Library Board. So that is their representation of additional committees.
And I think you're right, Julie, that's a very valid concern with somebody that's gonna need to recuse themselves on most of it, because their organization consistently is asking
Yeah.
for,
Well, especially if you have multiple lot commission members that are
Right.
from the same,
that are gonna
you know,
recuse
board,
themselves,
yeah.
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 Anybody have any thoughts on my suggestion?
I like that suggestion, and I would also say that I think Candy Millar, I value the presence being here, but Candy Millar has a lot to offer the city, and in the right time, in the right place, how we plug in all that experience, and I don't know why she can't be here tonight.
Well, when she submitted her letter, she did not include an email address. So she hand-delivered the letter, and I was not able to speak to her. So I wasn't able to invite her because I didn't have her email address at the time when I sent them all out.
Great. Well, I'm in favor of Mike's suggestion, and I just say that Candy Millar is a great candidate for us to reach out to and pull into one of the things, whether it's P and Z or whatever, that needs her background. And I know she helps likewise, so anyhow,
Yeah,
there's where I stand.
okay.
We should encourage her to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always nice when we have more applicants for something and that there's that desirability. And so I would make the motion then to reappoint Dave Petty and Tabitha Martineau to the Local Option Tax Commission to a 4-year term to expire December 2029. Appoint Haley Johnson to a 3-year term to expire December 2028, filling the business owner vacancy. Appoint Jacob Bird to a 2-year term to expire December of 2027, filling a citizen at large vacancy, and appoint Stacy Bowers to a 4-year term to expire December 2029, filling a citizen at large vacancy, and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents.
Second?
That lengthy motion has been made and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Machesik?
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Nielsen?
Yes.
Councilmember Thrower?
Yes.
And I will say that this commission will be in place as we come to, as this current LOT sunsets in 28. So we will then go back to the voters in May of 28 to renew this particular LOT.
Great.
So,
Good times to be alive on the Law Commission.
exactly.
Good times.
Didn't we just reapprove it? Was there any short-term
There's
ones?
That was the
That's
street.
the streets,
Oh, streets.
local options, yeah, so this will be,
So hopefully you'll have a job for.
yeah. Yeah, thank you too for being here and look forward to working with you guys on the local option tax.
And we'll reach out to you with next steps.
Okay, Kurt Wolf. Is here to present.
You get the late night shift often, Kurt.
No worries. Good evening, Mayor Nielsen, members of the council. Kurt Wolf, Parks and Recreation Director. This one's pretty straightforward. We had Gusty Laidlaw, a sitting member of our Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, which you are all well aware of the value that that committee brings to both our department and this council on as an advisory group on decisions and that directly benefit the community and all that we do and provide. Gusty was very interested in continuing her term. We did advertise it. We didn't get any other letters of interest. We do have a few new members, so it's nice to see some of the existing members with that same experience continue and want to stay on the committee. And I think most of you know Gusty Laidlaw. She's been in the community for a very long time and has raised her kids here and now grandchildren here. So it's been a lot of fun to have her voice and thoughts as part of the committee.
Yep, I'd make the motion to appoint Gusty Laidlaw to the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, member as recommended for a 3-year term expiring February 12, 2029.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Machesik?
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Nielsen?
Yes.
Councilmember Thrower?
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
What?
Can we also give a congrats to Kurt? We were in like the top 3% of the Boulder Mountain Tour or something.
I don't know if I was quite there this year, but it was a beautiful day over there. And there's a bunch of skiers from McCall that participated, so that was a lot of fun.
Right on.
Yeah, I heard
thanks.
Strong showing from McCall.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like
thank you.
Kurt to defer the attention to the others, but you also crashed at the start, and you crash at the start and don't get on with the fast guys, and you're like bike racing by yourself all the time, and the lead pack is out there pulling each other along. So you didn't make your excuse, I'll make it for you.
Oh, well, thanks, Lyle. All right, you guys have a good evening.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kurt. All right, Bessie Joe.
All
let's
right.
begin.
Mayor, Council, Bessie Jo Wagner, City Clerk. So this next item is to appoint or to confirm the council liaison appointments that you discussed during your retreat on January 28th. So in the memo, each of the organizations are explained. So I'll just run through it really quick, that the post-annexation Joint Wastewater Advisory Group would reappoint Mayor Nielsen. Library Board of Trustees would be Councilmember Giles. The Western Idaho Action Partnership is one that we removed, or that you all removed. The McPaws Board, Councilmember Thrower was going to reach out. Are you gonna
Yeah.
stay on there?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have the West Central Mountains.
Yeah, I talked to Delta, sorry. Yeah, she advised that, first of all, under their bylaws, that they do have a board position for someone from McCall, so it would be good for somebody to continue to be on that. And I agreed that I would go ahead and do that. She's gonna be my backup, I guess, if I can't make a meeting or something, but, and kinda help me get integrated into the group since she's been on it for so long. But yes, I will do that.
Okay, great. And then we have the McCall Chamber of Commerce. We currently, Forrest is to continue to serve on that board. And then we have the Payette River Scenic Byway Advisory Council. Councilmember Thrower will continue on that board. The Winter Recreation Forum, Mayor Nielsen will continue on that. Valley County Fire Working Group, that Councilmember Nelson would continue to serve with staff support. And the Valley County Commissioner, the council discussed the value of having the mayor and the city manager attend at least one BOCC meeting a quarter to continue building positive relations with the county leadership. Yeah. The Regional Transit Authority, Council Member Thrower, I believe, was following up on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to Erin about that one, and it's a pretty recently formed group, and it sounds like there could be some good opportunities to be on that group, and especially considering that we're funding about 85% of the public transit in that county. So.
Okay. And then the Resort Cities Coalition, Mayor Nielsen and City Manager Forrest Atkinson will be representing the city with the Resort Cities Coalition. Did I represent the council well with that information? All right, we just need a motion to confirm those identified appointments.
You're making yourself awfully busy here.
I know.
You feel good with all of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I make the motion to appoint the identified council and staff members to the committees, councils, and groups listed in our agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh,
I suppose
aye.
not, Lyle's in favor. All right, now on to next one. Governance manual.
The governance manual, yes, city clerk, that's Joe Wagner. So again, this is just to approve the changes that you all reviewed during your January 28th council retreat for your governance manual update. Just an overview of those. There was a revision to the functioning of city council, adding 2 new subsections, sponsoring a proposed initiative or change, and council approving travel and conference attendance for the council. And then a revision to the subsection council liaison under functioning of city council that further clarifies the expectations of council members within their important liaison roles. Did you have any questions or comments about these updates to your governance manual?
No, thanks for the work. We covered it well in our retreat. I'll make the motion. We ready?
Yeah.
I move we approve resolution 26-15, adopting the 2026 Governor's Manual Update and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents.
Second.
Right, that motion's been made and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Thrower,
Yes.
Mayor Nielsen,
Yes.
Councilmember Machezik.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. And Bessie Joe, star of the show.
Okay, Mayor, Council, Bessie Jo Wagner, City Clerk. This is an unusual request to adopt a resolution approving minutes from August 11th, 2005. We had had a request from the public to review these minutes. In an extensive search in our archives and in our Laserfish program, these minutes were not able to be found. I did discover that they were adopted at the December 2005 meeting, but no minutes. So we were able to retrieve the cassette tape of that meeting, and we're able to have those minutes so that we can complete the record for 2005. Though that cassette is available, I sent it all out to you that it would be available to you if you wanted to listen. So the resolution is just accepting these minutes into the record.
Don't see any issues.
No.
Make a motion to adopt a resolution 26-14 approving the August 11th, 2005 minutes of the McCall City Council meeting and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents.
Second.
That motion has been made and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Machezik,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Mayor Nielsen,
Yes,
Councilmember Thrower,
Yes.
that motion carries. Okay, now on to the MRA.
Yes, Mayor, Council, Bessie Jo Wagner, City Clerk. The McCall Redevelopment Agency appointments, again, you discussed these at your retreat, and they are a 3-year appointment per our city code. And so the recommendation is to appoint Julie Thrower and Mike Machezik to the McCall Redevelopment Agency to a term to expire March of 2029.
Seeing as some of us are involved, I'll go. I approve the appointment of Julie Thrower and Mike Machezik to the McCall Redevelopment Agency for a term expiring in March 2029 and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call vote on that one?
Councilmember Nelson.
Yes.
Councilmember Thrower.
Yes.
Mayor Nielsen.
Yes.
Councilmember Machezik.
Yes.
All right, welcome to the MRA.
Yeah.
That's a good one. You're gonna be really busy.
Yes, Julie, you are gonna be a busy woman.
All right, on to the upcoming meeting schedule.
All right, so just some updates. On February 19th, you'll have the July 4th Liberty Fest planning discussion. We figure maybe just an hour, it may be a little longer, but there's a lot to go through and to consider. And then on February 26th, we did add a bond election update for you. So we could give you what next steps will be for that with a bond ordinance adoption on March 5th. So we put it on March 5th, which is normally a work session. So you'll have your local housing work session on March 5th. So you'll be able to review the bond election ordinance on February 26th. It should look very much similar to the one that you adopted for the last bond ordinance. And the reason to adopt it on the 5th is because it is due to the county on March 13th. So by doing it on the 5th, this allows enough time if something should happen that we need to delay it to be approved on the 12th. And then, currently we are planning for a budget amendment on March 12th. Tentatively planning for the audit report on March 12th as well. Then something that I'm going to be adding, or I've added to the upcoming meeting schedule that you'll see going forward, is possible council events as per the discussion at your retreat. So on April 6th is the AIC Spring District Meeting in Boise. June 10th through the 12th is the annual AIC conference in Boise. We do have in April the RCC Mountain Town Tour in Montana. I don't have those exact dates yet, but I can get them for you.
It's the April 22nd through 24th.
22nd through the 24th. And then in October 13th through the 14th is the Mountain Towns 2030 Climate Summit in Sun Valley. So there's a lot coming up. If you guys you want to digest that, if you have an interest, you can let your other council members know either tonight or at a future council meeting to approve that attendance and travel.
We can tell them about our new power grid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you, or have you sent this list out to us?
No, I just accumulated it yesterday,
Yeah.
so I will send it out to you.
Awesome. That would be helpful just so we can look at it.
Oh.
It'll be nice to have on the meeting schedule moving forward for sure.
Yeah.
Then we talked in our retreat about having maybe a brief mini retreat check-in, so whether we're just gonna call that a special meeting or what we're gonna call it, but that'll be somewhere in August, I assume too.
Well, we'll have one, I think, in March
Right.
for budget kickoff, March or April. Probably April, right? For budget
Yeah,
kickoff.
I think so.
And then,
I just remember at a retreat, we're thinking, maybe we could do the full retreat and a mini thing about kind of tracking progress, tracking priorities, somewhere late summer.
okay.
Is that anybody else's recall?
Yeah, or sometime during the summer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whenever it's convenient, and it could be just a regular special meeting, I don't know if it has to be
Like a work session.
Mhm.
Make it
There's
easy.
nothing else.
staff.
Yeah.
So we'll probably be more likely doing budget work session April 9th. Or
Well,
March
that'll be
19th.
like your priority settings for,
Yeah, like the first big budget kickoff will be looking at kind of the big items that are out there in the city departments' plans and how those align with your priorities. But yeah, I think I remember, maybe we were talking about meeting towards the end of the fiscal year to review progress on priorities.
Yeah,
so two things.
Yeah.
yeah, and kind of dial in be a little more specific,
Mhm.
the priorities we set were broad. We could kind of maybe look and see if there's anything we specifically call out within those priorities.
Yeah. So I made note of that. So sometime later in the summer, early
Yeah.
fall, and
Could even
then,
be, yeah, fall.
and then the budget kickoff.
Sounds good. I guess probably to go back to the beginning of the meeting, what do you think would be a timeline to have a proposal on what Meredith's potentially Meredith's role would be in this electric grid.
Maybe another 4 weeks or something, just to kind of scope out exactly what role we would play. And
Yeah.
there's really a lot to it. I mean, one thing is that we have a current franchise agreement with Idaho Power that has another, I think, 8 years on it. And so that's kind of, we're tied into the relationship that we have under that, is my understanding.
Could actually be pretty good timing. I can't see.
Something like that
Take a
happening.
while before, yeah.
Maybe it'd be worth having an agenda item just to be kind of brought up to speed on what that would look like, could look like. Facts like that have some merit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just to have like the whole,
Mm-hmm.
we had a first touch of an idea from some folks,
Yeah.
which we,
It's just kind of more to
A
make
little more
sure
nuts and
that
bolts
this
to see
task
what-
force is really
yes.
worth it to
Yeah.
keep pursuing right now.
There are a lot of financial implications
Yeah.
involved, for one thing.
Mhm.
And like, probably debt financing and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think having some of the realities or your hard numbers on board.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a little mini task force with Rick and Tuck and Meredith to kind of,
Mm-hmm.
bring a better proposal together
Yeah.
to see if it's worth our time right now to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
TBD.
Is Julie up?
All right, should we make a
Yeah,
motion?
you're up.
Okay, move we go into executive session, litigation pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74-2061F, to communicate with legal counsel for the public agency to discuss the legal ramifications of and legal options for pending litigation or controversies not yet being litigated but imminently likely to be litigated. The presence of mere legal counsel at an executive session does not satisfy this requirement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Thrower,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Mayor Nielsen.
Yes.
Councilmember Machezik.
Yes.
Okay, give me a minute here. Okay, I have one more thing I have to do. Yeah, I have to go and turn that off.
I'm too old for that. But how can you get so many?
I often get my phone that Nelson